Hey, deserving listeners, it's time for me to react to your comments from my videos from last week. Let's get to it. This first comment is on my video last week in which I was reacting to your... So this is a comment that's underneath me reacting to your comments, and those comments were made in reaction to my comments while watching the show. Niamwich says, I was following Andra before this whole thing happened. Right, so Andra is the woman TikToker who posted that video about Ben. I was following Andra before this whole thing happened, primarily for her political commentary on social issues. I think she probably had a less than great experience with Ben, and she had heard from other women that they had had even worse experiences with him. And she was emotional, and she irresponsibly published non-specific grievances. I really don't think she had malintent, but I do know that she did make some sort of statement that she regrets making the videos and that she overreacted. End of comment. Interesting. I didn't come across those, but yeah, we all make mistakes. Six Leaf member AE Creative 1994 says, I just went back to watch your trauma dumping series. I had been avoiding it because I was frustrated. Yeah, the series of me going back and rewatching the Madison Mason stuff. I just went back to watch your trauma dumping series. I'd been avoiding it because I was frustrated with how your takes on Madison was so severely conflicted with what I was noticing. I think the huge wave of online bullying with similar reactions to her behavior made me more sensitive because I was hoping I'd hear you say something that went against what I thought was unfair interpretation of her. Someone commenting that your trauma dumping videos were actually the opposite of my assumptions made me go back and watch. And man, I so appreciate you. Just chiming in here. Yeah, well, AE Creative, I'm glad you gave me a shot there. And yeah, I could see if you saw the angles that I didn't see initially with Madison, and particularly if you identified with her, that, because I had a severe reaction when she came back into the lounge and said breaking up is so delicious. I was given what and I think the vast majority of the audience was thinking that was happening, including Mason himself. It was one of the most psychopathic things we'd ever seen. And then rewatching it, I'm like, oh. And I don't know if I said this, but this could be one of the most problematic symptoms of the culture of the region in which a lot is unsaid. Things are passively communicated, or being upfront is considered rude or something. Because the way it looked to me was that the direct communication was so strained that it resulted in what it did, and I went over that. Anyway, going on. P.S. I am currently applying to graduates. Well, the other thing I want to say, E Creative, is that, thanks for giving me a chance and watching it, even though the first pass you didn't appreciate my take. And it's fine. We can always disagree on takes, within reason. P.S. I'm currently applying to graduate school. You've played a huge role in this. You've talked about therapists who went back to school later in life. Yeah, just chiming in. So I'll get questions or emails from people saying, is 30 too old to go back to graduate school? I think one time someone asked me if 26 was too old. And no. I've had students in their 60s and 70s. It's never too late. Obviously, the investment of time and money and energy, you're not going to be able to capitalize on it as much later in life. But, at 55, if you change careers, by the time you're 60, you're a therapist, you could practice for 10, 15 years or more or longer, So, I'm not saying everyone should do it, but I'm going to take a guess and say that you, AE Creative, are not in that upper end of the range. But even if you were, it's you make an informed choice, and if that's what's good for you, then what usually the question is based on is there something wrong with me? Am I going to be discriminated against? Is it a lost cause, or am I a lost cause? Or it's like, no. You've also talked about how therapists with mental health issues aren't a problem, but maybe even more helpful. Yeah, just chiming in. The average American at some point in their life suffers from a quote unquote mental illness. So if we say that having a diagnosis at some point in your life precludes you from being a therapist, then most people could never be a therapist, and that's just ridiculous. You've taught me so much about so many therapeutic modalities and the conditions I've never heard of. You've helped me understand and accept myself in so many ways, especially in the face of a lot of trauma. You are my all-time favorite YouTuber and podcaster, and I've been listening to you since 2013. Wow, AE Creative since 2013. I love hearing from people that have been listening since, even if it was off and on, because in those days, the content was, I was doing it on the side, publishing an episode during that time, maybe once every couple weeks. I wasn't doing any prep typically. But at the time, there wasn't really much in terms of alternatives of psychology podcasts. Anyway, thanks for being such a good teacher, a great teacher, so smart, and especially so humble. Huge respect to you. Just chiming in. I don't know how humble it is for me to read all this. Usually I don't read the praise because it's just, I read it, but I don't say it in a video because it's like, what's the value in that? But I don't know. I just wanted to highlight this one because, well, first off, Stacy put it in the list of comments to react to, but also it's wonderful to hear that for you, AE Creative, that you are, as a second career, deciding to become a therapist and help people. And that is one of the main meanings or purposes of my life and of this podcast is, in addition to all the other things like helping people understand themselves and attachment and relationships and giving people the benefit of the doubt, including themselves, compassion, self-compassion. But a through line from the very beginning was to continue being a teacher and a supervisor and a mentor for therapists, because that's, what most of my job has been throughout my career. And there's just not enough of that out there. And so to hear people that, consume the podcast or YouTube channel along those lines about their career, inspiring them, finding something in themselves, that's huge to me. Big. So you commenting is the realization of the meaning of my life. I'm not saying that lightly. P.S. I became a member of the YouTube channel because it means I get more yammering. I want the yammer. The yammer is the content. End of comment. Well, that's nice to hear. And I feel like I should have balance between yammering and conciseness. Love is Blind number 89. Virginia confronts Devin in this, in the reunion. Full Corn member Kay Figgis says, I think that Virginia is listing examples of why she called the wedding off, because she received a lot of criticism online. Yeah, there was a lot of comments and upvotes and commentary in the comment section of that video about my take. And what I'll say is that, I don't remember exactly what I said, but by no means would I say that Virginia is a bad person or anything along those lines. To me, in terms of the cast member, Virginia, it's just we didn't get to know her very well. I mean, when you think about Lauren and Dave, even Madison, that we didn't see post pods, just think about all the data we have. Even people like Joey. With Virginia, it just wasn't there, which is fine. And if I were on the show, that's what I would do. I wouldn't want my entire life. I would want barely any of my life to be on international television. So I don't fault her for that. But from what we saw in the edit, yeah, there's a lot of good qualities, redeemable qualities, relatable qualities, understandable. The thing that I think I got to the point of watching so many reunions, actually, it's not just this one, in which there are cast members like Hannah, for example, from last season, who will come to the reunion with bullet points. It's pretty clear that they're ready to fight. And the other person, sometimes, not always, won't have any bullet points and will refrain from even engaging in the edit. We can't know, right? Now, in real life situations, that happens all the time. But I think just seeing Virginia, because I think I kept saying something like she dumped him. So what is happening right here? And can someone have grievances if they were the one that dumped someone? Yeah, usually you break up with someone because you do have grievances. But there was just a lot of that, and I think I was building up some frustration from the previous couple seasons as well, like Hannah and then Marissa supporting Hannah, but it seemed like Marissa was just believing the distortion or lies that Hannah was telling Marissa behind the scenes. Or I can't remember all the details, but I don't know. I just wish, for a lot of reasons, for everyone's sake, including Virginia and Hannah and Marissa, that there's not hatred and there's not distortion, there's not hostility unnecessarily, there's not over. If Virginia had just stuck to 90% of what she said at the reunion, I don't know if I would have said anything about it. But it's just that extra layer of I don't know what you call it, but but this, I think I said this, or eventually I said it, was that I suspect the reason why this is happening is because some of the cast members are attacked. Because they recorded the reunion, I think, in the middle of the posting of the season. And you just can't imagine, of course, the kind of attacks that Virginia would be getting from people on the right or religious people or something. I don't know that. That's just me making shit up. But at the very least, people seem to attack all the cast members for all reasons, and even more reasons. Like people attack everybody. And people attack women a lot more. It took me a while in my adult life to fully understand that. The moment for me was, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago. As a professor at my university, I was, as a man, I was in the minority. Most of my colleague professors were women, and they would talk about how students would treat them. And I would say, what? And most of our 95%, 90% of our students are women. So this was women treating, women students treating women professors in ways that I thought had to be exaggerated. But then I kept hearing these stories. I mean, there was this one time where this one student picked up a chair and this is graduate school, threw it at the professor. And I had never even been treated anything close. I mean, there'd been moments where students I felt treated me unfairly. You work with thousands of students, there's a bell curve. But the kinds of things that my colleagues experienced on a routine, regular, daily, weekly basis was the kind of stuff that I would see once every 3 years, literally. It was such a stark contrast, and I heard it from all of them. And I thought, oh, that's what it's like, that lack of respect, or that just automatic respect that I get as a man. And maybe other factors too, the fact that I'm taller. I don't know. The fact that, I don't know, there's just a lot of markers of privilege and class and that sort of thing. So I'm glad I have that privilege, but it's fucking bullshit that people are treated unfairly like this. And I have no doubt that Virginia and others, including even Hannah, I mean, just think about the amount of attacks that Hannah was getting, 1 or 2 seasons ago. And they're in the middle of the season, and so they come to the reunion, and they're just for the first time in their lives, they are experiencing the kind of thing that they're experiencing 1,000 times greater than the worst moments of my career and I've been on the internet for 17 years. So I can't imagine what they're going through. It's astonishing that they don't have frequent meltdowns on stage the entire time about all sorts of things. The body shaming, the face shaming, the racism, the sexism, the sex negativity, the just vitriol, maybe death threats, I don't know, doxing, reaching out to their family members. It's atrocious. It's even the more mild comments, just people piling on and saying, I'm trying to think of, like with Hannah, for example. There's things we can legitimately criticize Hannah for. Remember Hannah and what was his name? Nick D. And the duck thing and the ick and all this. Yeah, I criticized it. But to go after her in her comments, to try to make her feel bad, to not frame your criticism with some love and some compassion, is just bullying, plain and simple. And so many people do it. It's just normalized. You'll find that people that would never bully anyone in their entire lives in real life are doing it regularly on the internet. So, yeah, do I think that Virginia might have come out a little hot and others on this show because of that? Yeah, I get that. And, yeah. All right. Well, so there's a lot more comments, but the rest of this will be for members of the YouTube channel. So if you want to see the rest of this and the hundreds of other member-exclusive videos, become a member. Otherwise, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.